Hello and welcome today to the Love Reading LitFest. My name is Deborah Maclaren and I'm the MD of Love Reading for Kids. And I am delighted today to be joined by two very special people. Firstly, I'd like you to introduce you to 9-year-old Tino, who is one of our Kids Reading Ambassadors. When I spoke to his head teacher about this event, she told me that he eats books for breakfast. And I can't wait to hear about his questions for our author, Dhonielle Clayton. Tino, welcome to the LitFest.
Hi.
Now, Dhonielle Clayton loves magic. She loves it more than anything. Apparently, even pizza and warm chocolate chip cookies. She reads millions of books to find some in the real world because magic makes everything much more interesting. And we wholeheartedly agree. She grew up in Washington, D.C. and is a former secondary school teacher and librarian. She's a New York Times best-selling author, the COO of the nonprofit We Need Diverse Books, and the owner, how do you find the time, Dhonielle, of Cake Creative Kitchen. This brilliant book, The Marvelous, is her middle grade fantasy debut. It's suitable for 9+ readers. It was published in the UK earlier this year by Piccadilly Press, and we absolutely loved it. You can find out more about Dhonielle and the world of The Marvelous at themarvelousseries.com. But first, Dhonielle, welcome to the LitFest.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited and honored to be here. I can't wait to discuss all things magic and cookies and with you.
I love it. I love it. No, we so love this book, and Tino and I were just chatting about it before your arrival. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Tino. I know he's got some brilliant questions for you. So I'll hand over. Tino, over to you.
Thank you for writing your book. I really enjoyed it and read it in a few days. I couldn't put it down. It was that interesting. Can you set the scene for us, please, and tell our audience what this book's about?
Sure. This book is about a magic school in the sky that moves all around the world and about kids from every single community and country and culture who have magic who go. However, in my world, there are two types of magical people. There are people called the marvelers who have a marvel, which is something that is marvelous about them or their magic. But there's also a group of people called the conjurers who are magical too and related to the marvelers, but their magic is a little different. So the marvelers have always been a little suspicious of them and weren't so friendly and excited about them joining them at this magic school in the sky. They also have 3 cities in the sky that move all around because they don't really want to live around people who don't have magic because that's kind of boring. But it's about the first conjurer they're allowing to come to the school named Ella, who is our main character. In all of her, let's say, adventures and also difficulties of being one of the only conjurers at this marveler school.
So then she struggles to fit in, but then she finds her best friends, Bridget and Jason, yeah?
Yeah, she does. Which I think is the best part of school, right? Like when you're the new kid, it's really hard. But Ella's the type of character that would be a friend to anyone and really tries to. And so when she first meets Jason, he's supposed to be helping her acclimate to school, like figure out things. And she's like, ill, get away. I don't need help. She really does need help. And so they end up being friends. And then Bridget is a character who doesn't want to be at the school at all. She's also an outsider, but a different kind of outsider than than Ella is. And so they become friends because they're stuck together. And Ella is really trying to help Bridget find her place while she's finding her place too. So they have this very interesting relationship that takes a little bit of time to warm up, right? Which is always interesting. The kid who's like, I don't want to be at this school. Those are often my favorite kind of kids. The grumps.
Friendship saves the day. Friendship saves the day.
I was very grumpy at that age. So I was very much like Bridget. I was like, I just want to read my books. I'm not going outside. Leave me alone. Exactly. Leave me in peace. Leave me in peace. Just leave me some food and my book.
Tito's with you.
Yeah.
So we're introduced into a whole new world in the Marvelous, world I would love to live in, which is the kind of world you want for your readers. Conjurer camos, braid hands, griotry, Star Post news box. How did you come up with your ideas for the books? Like, what's your motivation and what's your favorite invention?
That's really hard. But okay, so I'm a person that likes to build worlds first because I like getting lost in a world. And so when I start to try to create a world, I try to create worlds and then figure out who my troublemakers are going to be inside of my world and who's going to break it, right? And so something that I really love are magical inventions, right? And so in the world of the Marvelers, there are two different magical universes next to each other, right? There's the Marvelerverse and the Conjureverse. They are related, but they are different. And so I guess if my favorite thing that Marvelers have, I would say two things if I can squeeze in. One, I love that there's so much magical food. I mean, that is something that's across the board for both communities. But I wanted to go to a school my whole life that had magical food because I was a kid that was a bit afraid of different kinds of food. And I thought, if food was more magical, maybe I would have tried more things when I was 8, 9, 10, and 11 versus being afraid. So, at the magic school, all the food is, there's that constellation of sushi in the sky that flies all around and all of the different, the dumpling carts and the dumplings that dance. I would love that. So that's one of my favorite things. And also, I do love my news boxes. I love the idea of being able to see a 3D image and a projection of the news versus having it on the television. So I really had fun creating that. I guess in the Conjurer world, one of my favorite things, obviously, are Ella carries the braid hands, which are a copy of her mom's hands, with her to school so they can do her hair. And I wanted to create that so that she would also feel safe and like a little bit of home so that she could have her comfort. So that was fun to create. And there's more cool stuff for the Conjurers coming in book 2 so that you'll get to see, but also things related to the underworld. That are really, really exciting. A very special magical object that you'll see from the underworld that I'm really excited about too.
Amazing.
My favorite character in the book is Ella because I love how she perseveres through the hardships of she's the first different person in that school for like a different set, but she's in like the kind of opposite one. And no matter how many hardships she faces, she keeps on moving on and on. And that's what I really admire about her.
I so appreciate that because when I wanted to create Ella, I wanted to take my experience of when I was in school. I was one of the only kids that looked like me in my school. And so sometimes it was really difficult to deal with what it feels like to be different all the time, every single day, and how frustrating that could be. And it can always go one of two ways. You can either get really angry about it and sort of shut down, or you can try your best to persevere, right? And my parents always taught me about persevering because they also, when they were growing up, they had to go into schools where they were the only people that looked like them and they had to persevere. And so I wanted Ella to be sort of that, to show that she is so proud of where she comes from and her family and her magic, that she was going to push through, even though people are rude, people are a little bit mean. Sometimes she doesn't understand why people don't really like her magic and have some preconceived notions about what she can do and some fear. So I really tried to build a character that was a happy character who was super excited, and you watched her sort of learn and navigate what it meant to be different. Because as you know, at the magic school, there are a lot of other kinds of different kids there too. So sometimes you don't know what another kid is going through. And I wanted Ella to be like that, to be open.
Is Ella your favorite in that way?
I love Ella. Ella is who I wish I was when I was that age. I was actually more like Bridget, honestly. I was a little bit more of a grumpy sourpuss who just wanted to read my books and didn't really want to have to do maths and science. And so I wrote an aspirational character. So when I look back on my journals from when I was Ella's age, I wish I was more of an ambassador like her versus a grump. So she is a favorite, but I think I also love Jason and Bridget too, very much. So they're kind of my favorites. And I like Siobhan as well, because she's a little bit, she struggles.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are lots of twists and turns in the story and keeps you guessing what will happen next. Did you know how you wanted it to end? Like the twist at the end?
I wish I did. I wish I could tell you that I knew everything before I started. But because I believe that being a writer really means that I'm a rewriter, I had to rewrite this book 6 times from the beginning. 6.
6 times.
Started over. 6. Because I didn't know what I wanted. And because, you know, the book is told also in documents, secret files, and also you get to follow the villain, I had to figure out what each piece of this puzzle was going to be. So I did know a few things. I knew what my villain was up to, because I like villains more than I like heroes. I knew what mean stuff she was up to, but I didn't know how Ella was going to react. And I didn't know some of the twists. So I knew I wanted to, you know, make sure that Ella figured out that she always belonged at that school, but I didn't know exactly how I was going to get there. So I had to rewrite the book a whole bunch, but I learned my lesson that I need to do more planning. So now for books 2, 3, and 4, I kind of know.
At the end of the book, when it says somebody let that clown out, are you like indicating the suspicion that it could be a conjurer?
Right. Exactly. And that the people that you might think are the good guys might not necessarily be completely good, because another thing that I wanted to talk about in the Marvelers is that when we label people good and bad, what does that actually mean? Because some people are good for portions of their life and then they become bad, right? We have a character in this world who we thought, oh my gosh, they're a wonderful teacher and professor, but when they were a young person, they made some decisions that people might have labeled bad. What does that mean, right? So yes, there are many secrets about who might have let that clown out at the very end that you will see in book.
So have you got like a book for children? You must have read a lot being a librarian.
A favorite book, you mean, Tino? Yeah, a favorite book.
Being a librarian is very hard. Having to pick a favorite is very, very, very difficult. But I have some favorite authors that I loved to read when I was young and ones that I love to read now. And I think one of my most favorite books that I read when I was about 9 was a book called Harriet the Spy, which is about a girl who lives in New York City and she's spying on people. She keeps a journal and she's not very nice in her journal. But I loved that book because it was the first time I saw a very sour character who wasn't sugar and spice and everything nice. I also love, I love Rick Riordan so much.
Same
He
here.
is one of my favorites. He is so nice. I can't believe he loved the Marvelers. He's obsessed. He's one of my favorite people. We call him Uncle Rick. He's the best. Yep, he's the best. I love him. And then I also love, he's kind of my nemesis, but I also love him. I dedicated the book to him. His name is Jason Reynolds. He's a wonderful writer and he's really awesome. He does hate dragons, but he helped me with this book because I would call him and talk to him about all of this stuff. And he would be like, just don't put a dragon in it. Do this, do that. So he's another one of my favorite writers. And then my favorite magic school book when I was a kid was a book series called The Worst Witch.
Oh, I loved it too. Loved it too.
I read all of those.
That's so funny you say Rick Riordan, because we were just talking with Tino before about his favourite, and he was saying he's loving the Rick Riordan books. He hadn't seen the quote from Rick at the beginning. I'm just going to share this. The marvelous deserves the highest compliment I can give a book. I want to live in this world. You can stop looking at admissions brochures for all those other schools of magic. The Arcanum Training Institute for Marvelous and Uncanny Endeavours is definitely where you want to apply. That is just amazing. And we agreed, didn't we, Tino?
He is the nicest author I have ever met. And he is funny and he is so kind. And I think that if you got to interview him, he would love it. And he is the best. Yeah. He is the best. And so
Tino said to me, he went, can I have a request? Can I interview Rick Riordan left? So we might be asking you to sort that out for us, Dhonielle.
I'm happy to put in a good word for you, Tino. I'm happy to email him and tell him that I was interviewed by you and that you're a great interviewer and that he should be interviewed. I'm happy to send him an email.
Oh my goodness me.
Yeah. And he has his own line of books at Disney called Rick Riordan Presents, where he has all of these different characters from all of these different other mythologies that are written by other writers that are pretty awesome. Like his Tristan Strong. Tristan Strong is another character. It's kind of like Percy Jackson, but he's different. He looks like me and you. It's kind of awesome.
Oh, it's brilliant, isn't it? Now, a little birdie told me, Dhonielle, that it was quite a challenge getting this book published, as a lot of publishers commented that there was already a famous magical series of books out there. And I was incandescent about that, because when I was speaking to that little birdie, I was just saying how much I adored the book, and I was so delighted that they saw sense. So talk to us, and we'd love to hear about your path to publication and how you got to find the publisher you did to bring this story to life.
Sure. I wrote this book in 2016, very long time ago. And when I sent it out to publishers, everyone said, you can't write a magic school book. We already have the magic school that everyone wants an invitation to, Hogwarts. And I thought, but none of the kids that are coming in my library every day in New York City can get an invitation to Hogwarts. And they're looking for a magic school where they could go. My students came from all over the world, spoke many different languages, and they never saw themselves in that magic school. And I thought, this is incredibly unfair. So what do? Because I'm stubborn, I write the book anyway. And so I get a publisher, which is exciting. But then when it went out to go to the UK, all of the publishers turned it down because they said the children of the UK already have Hogwarts. Why would we want them to have this magic school? And it might offend the writer of that series if they were to publish it. And I said, I'm not afraid of controversy. I'm a tiny little loudmouth American. I am okay with her being upset with me, because there are so many kids in the UK that also don't get an invitation to that magic school. And I want to make sure that I create a magic school in the sky that is not attached to any country, that every single kid could get an invitation to. And so, I still get a lot of hate mail, and I get swarmed a lot by readers of that series. Upset that I wrote the series and that I'm talking about that this magic school can be the future of magic school, where we make sure that every kid feels like they belong, whether there's food for them to eat from their community, translation crystals so they can understand everyone, different kinds of dorms so that everybody feels safe.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it was a struggle. It was very much a struggle.
It just makes me so sad. It really does, because I mentioned in my intro that you are COO for a company called We Need Diverse Books. So I've got a question about that as well, because so do we. That's, Love Reading for Kids. It is about us sharing every type of book. So, it's so important to have children to have access to books and see themselves in the pages of books, and see names like theirs on the cover of books, and see pictures of authors who look like them. And, we shout from the rooftops about this. And is that maybe one of the things that prompted you to become a writer in the first place?
Yes, it was just me being a teacher and librarian, because all of my students were from all over the world and they hated books and I love books. And I felt like, and they told me that they hated books because they didn't get to see heroes that looked like them from their community with families like theirs, with languages that they speak, with hair like theirs. And it was affecting why they liked them. So I know, right? It's so like, and I was mad and I was angry. So I was like, I've got to do something about this because this is going to affect readers,
Yes.
the building of readers and their literacy rates, right? And how they interact with the written language. And so I decided to write the stories that my students asked me to. They wanted a magic school, and I gave them a magic school so that they could feel safe and comfortable and be on an adventure. And then I also, helped run We Need Diverse Books and launched other endeavors, but just so that to make sure that everybody can walk into a bookstore or their classroom library or their public library and see themselves reflected on the pages of books.
Bravo, and thank you.
Now we hear that there is a sequel to The Marvelous coming up. Please tell us more. And when will it be released? And when do I get to read it?
I want to make sure you get an early copy, so we will work on that. So the book comes out in September, and it's called The Memory Thieves. So we get to go back to the school for the second year, but now Ella knows some of the secrets of the school itself, and she's investigating because at the end of the first book, without spoiling it for people who haven't read it, she has found a very special object that sort of is evidence. And now she has to investigate the object and unlock that object's secrets so that she can prove to the world that conjurers always belonged at the school. But as she's unlocking that object, something starts happening at the school where kids start getting this sort of magical illness start sweeping through, and we can't figure out what is happening and why kids and their marvels start to feel weird. And also the villain didn't get captured. So she's very much up to no good and continuing her efforts from book one. And the world is really upset as well that more conjure kids get to go to the school this year. Several more come. And people are starting to get mad, both back in the conjure world, because they're like, why are we doing this? And also in the Marveler world. There's also an election. They're looking for a new Marveler president. And so everyone is very, very, very sort of excited, but also anxious. So there's going to be, lots more articles and lots more secret news and things like that. But Ella's got to prove. Ella's got to use this magical document that she got to prove things. But so much drama. So much drama.
Hurrah for that.
I think you're going to scream at the book, but that's okay.
Can't wait.
But we'll make sure you get an early copy, an early proof, Tino.
Yeah. So that's all my questions. Thank you so much for answering them. I really love the book, even though it took me a few days to read it.
A few days. You were quicker than me.
If you were a Marveler, what kind of Marvel, what paragon would you be in? What kind of power do you want to have?
Like the 5 sections, like taste. I want to have hearing.
Okay, so you want to be a paragon of sound.
Sound.
Do you want to talk to animals, or do you want to be able to hear everything? Do you want to be able to create magical music? What kind of paragon of sound do you want to be?
I would like to hear everything.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
you would have to get a good pair of noise canceling headphones, because after a while you'd be like, everyone just be quiet. Stop thinking. Stop talking to me. And the animals too, because then you'd hear everything. You'd hear everything the animals have to say. I don't want to hear what my dog has to say all the time, because it would be like, feed me, feed me.
I love it. I love it. Dhonielle, thank you so much for talking to us today. You can see how much Tino loved it. I loved it too. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. We can't wait. I honestly, I know we've just chatted about it. I felt I read it and I feel that this is Harry Potter. I've got to say it, there are, it's a magical school, but it is Harry Potter for a new generation. It's Harry Potter with bells on. It's so beautifully written. It's so clever, so imaginative. It's got magic, it's got secrets, it's got danger, it's got tons of suspense, and a diverse set of characters, a beautiful, really gorgeous cast of characters. It deserves all the plaudits. I'm so excited about book 2. So thank you for writing this book. Everybody, The Marvelous by Dhonielle Clayton. Book 1 is out now, published by Piccadilly Press. And book 2, The Memory Thieves, is out in September. Thank you for joining us at the Love Reading LitFest. Thank you, Tino. Thanks, Dhonielle.
Yeah.
Thank you.